Take a deep breath now. Let the air come in soft and quiet through your nose, then let it drift out like a gentle breeze brushing over tall prairie grass. Feel your shoulders soften, feel your arms grow heavy, and let your jaw loosen without trying. Nothing needs your attention right now. There's nowhere to be but here, and nothing to do but listen. As you settle deeper into your blanket or pillow, picture the hush of twilight, the sound of cicadas in the distance, the warmth of late summer slipping over the fields. That's where our story sets in, somewhere still, somewhere old, somewhere American, somewhere with the sweet smell of cornmeal and pine. Our story tonight begins in the summer of 1943 in a farmhouse that stands at the edge of a wide, whispering Kansas field. The house is small but proud, wooden and worn smooth by years of wind, with chipped paint the color of milk. Inside, the walls are quiet. The air carries a faint scent of soap and sun-dried linens, and the clock in the hallway ticks gently like a tired heartbeat. The kitchen window looks out onto the porch, and beyond that, a dirt road that barely sees any traffic except for the mail truck, and maybe one day a car that brings him home. It's here that we find our girl, 12 years old, light brown hair tied back with a string of faded ribbon. Her name is Emma, and she's sitting at the table peeling apples with careful hands, though she's not really watching the apples at all. Her eyes keep darting to the window, to the porch, to the silence. The war feels far away most days. It's just pictures in the newspaper and low voices on the radio. But some days, it feels like it's hiding in the quiet, like it's waiting behind every unopened letter. Emma's father left nearly a year ago. He kissed her forehead, told her to help Mama, and promised he'd write. He has little notes once a month or so, always short, always signed, "Your Papa," with all my heart. Emma has all of them tucked in a wooden box under her bed. Sometimes she opens it just to touch the paper, to smell the faded ink, as if that alone could bring him a little closer. The wind picks up outside, rustling through the drying corn and the low leaves of the ash tree that leans just beside the porch. The screen door taps gently in its frame, and Emma's mother, standing by the sink, glances up like she always does, just in case, just to make sure it isn't him. Then she sighs and turns back to the dishes. Her hands are red from soap. Her hair is tied in a kerchief. She hums when she's nervous, but only ever one tune. A hymn, maybe. Emma doesn't know the name. In the afternoons, after chores are done, Emma walks down the road to the mailbox. It's a crooked little thing, all rust and dents, and it never quite stays shut. She opens it slowly like she's afraid it might bite. And always she holds her breath. Not today, just a bill, and a grocery list returned from town. But she walks back slow anyway, kicking pebbles, pretending she's just out for fun. She imagines sometimes that her father is watching her, just from beyond the trees, or that he'll be sitting on the porch when she rounds the last bend, sipping tea like he never left. But each time it's just the dog, old Lenny, tail thumping, waiting to be scratched. That night, they eat dinner in near silence. Mama serves boiled potatoes and beans from the garden, and Emma tries not to notice that she's already memorized the pattern on her plate. Afterward, Mama knits by the fire, and Emma writes in her little green notebook, the one she only started after Papa left. She doesn't call it a journal, because that sounds too grown up, but she writes everything anyway. She writes about the cows mooing like they miss someone too. She writes about how Mr. Thompson from the next farm said the war would be over by Christmas. And she writes about the dream she had last week where Papa came home early and brought her a yellow dress with buttons shaped like stars. The fire crackles softly, and outside the moon begins to rise. The field shines silver in its light, and the world seems quieter than it should be. Mama says a prayer out loud, the same one every night. Lord, watch over him. Keep his hands steady, his mind strong, and bring him home whole. Emma closes her eyes while Mama speaks, but keeps them closed long after the words are done, just listening, just hoping the wind will carry her father's name back through the window. Sometimes, if the night is quiet enough, she swears she hears his footsteps on the porch. When it's time for bed, Emma crawls into the cot in the loft, where the wood creaks and groans like it's remembering better days. She has a view of the stars from up here clear and low and bright. Mama says they're the same stars her father sees wherever he is. So Emma says goodnight to each one, slowly like they might carry her message across the ocean. "Good night, Papa," she whispers to the last and brightest star. "We're still here." Downstairs the fire dims, the clock ticks on. The wind blows soft against the walls. The world holds its breath, waiting. The next morning begins the same way it always does, with the sound of the rooster crowing just before the sun peeks over the hill. Emma stirs in her little loft bed, eyes fluttering open as golden light filters through the slats of the barn-style window. For a moment, she forgets the heaviness that lives quietly in her chest, the waiting and wondering. But it returns as soon as she sits up and hears the floor creak under her bare feet. Mama's already downstairs, humming low and steady, the coffee kettle whistling just like it does every morning. There's a rhythm to this life, Emma thinks. A rhythm to waking up, to feeding the chickens, to pretending like everything is normal. She puts on her apron, a little faded around the edges, and steps outside to let the animals out. The breeze is cooler today. The sky, a pale blue stretching forever. She feels the dirt under her feet and the softness of the air against her cheeks, and lets it all settle over her like a blanket. The animals greet her with the same sleepy sounds, clucks, moos, a low grunt from the pig pen, and she greets them back with gentle words like they're family, like they know how to listen. As she scatters feed and freshens the water, her mind drifts to the last postcard. It was short, just 2 lines. He said he missed the porch swing and hoped the tomatoes were coming in strong this year. She read it 6 times before giving it to Mama. Then she copied it into her notebook, word for word. After breakfast, she sweeps the front steps while Mama tends to laundry. There's a softness to the way the sheets flap in the breeze, like they're waving at someone far away. Emma watches the dirt rise from the broom bristles, little puffs of dust dancing in the morning light. The mailbox still stands crooked at the end of the drive, waiting with its metal mouth wide open. But it's too early yet for mail. Still, she looks down the road, just in case. At midday, the heat grows thicker, the kind that makes everything slow and sleepy. Emma lies on her back under the old elm tree, with her book resting on her stomach, half-read. Her thoughts wander too easily lately. She wonders what her father's doing at this exact moment. Is he eating lunch in a tent somewhere? Is he thinking about her the way she's thinking about him? She presses her palms into the warm earth and closes her eyes. The sound of the wind through the grass is soft and steady, like a lullaby hummed by the land itself. Later, while Mama kneads dough in the kitchen, Emma sneaks a piece of chalk and writes her name on the backwood wall, just under where Papa used to carve notches at the end of the wood each time she fall. Her handwriting has gotten neater. She wonders if you've noticed. A part of her hopes that when you return, the marks you've made on the porch and the dirt on the world will help him find his way back. The afternoon light changes the color of the fields, turning the yellow grain into gold, shimmering every time the wind passes through. Emma takes a basket and walks the edge of the property, gathering wildflowers. She isn't picking them for any reason. There's nowhere to put them, really. But she likes the way their colors break up the green and brown. As she walks, she spots a rabbit watching her from the shadows. She stops, doesn't move, and the two of them hold still together in the moment. Just quiet eyes, soft breath, and the sun falling behind them. Back at home, Mama's canning tomatoes again. The smell fills the whole house, sweet, sharp, earthy. Emma puts the flowers in an old mason jar and sets them by the window where Papa used to sit with his coffee. The kitchen grows warm, the glass fogs slightly, and for a while, time slows down. Mama speaks, not looking up from her work. "He'd like those," she says softly. "You always did know what made him smile." Dinner comes and goes. Tonight it's cornbread and stew, and they eat with the windows open. Crickets chirp in the growing dusk. Somewhere nearby, a dog barks, then quiets. Emma counts the stars as they come out 1, 2, 5, 7, and wonders how many her father can see from wherever he is. When they're done eating, she helps Mama wash the dishes. They don't talk much. The silence is full, but not heavy, just shared. That night, Emma climbs back into bed with a candle flickering beside her. She opens her notebook and writes slowly, her hands careful and small. The wind is gone today. I wore Papa's old hat in the garden and pretended I was captain of the ship. Mama laughed when I told her. She said I had his eyes. She puts the pencil down, blows out the candle, and listens to the world settle again. The house groans gently as it cools. The fields rustle. And somewhere in the distance, an owl calls once, low and sleepy. She pulls the quilt up to her chin and closes her eyes. The stars blink above her. The clock ticks downstairs. And Emma dreams again, not of the war, not of uniforms or fear, but of footsteps on the porch, arms around her and the smell of tobacco and soap and leather, just like the day he left. The morning begins a little earlier this time. The sky is still gray when Emma slips out of bed, her bare feet touching the cool wood floor with a small creak. She doesn't even wait for the rooster. Something pulled her awake, and for a moment she's not even sure why. But then she remembers yesterday was the first Tuesday of the month. That's when the mail truck sometimes comes with the heavy canvas bag, the one that holds more than just bills, the one that sometimes carries a letter. Maybe. Hopefully. She puts on her shoes quickly and tiptoes past the kitchen, where Mama is still asleep in her chair, a quilt wrapped around her shoulders and her knitting falling to the floor. Outside, the air smells like dew and the faint sweetness of clover. The field is quiet, still drowsy in the early light, and a thin mist clings to the tops of the grass like breath on glass. Emma walks the gravel road slowly, not wanting to rush, not wanting to get there too fast, just in case of another empty box. The pebbles crunch under her shoes. A bird sings once, then again, falling in the hedgerow. She answers with a whistle. It's the kind of quiet for Mr. Beasley, the neighbor. And then there's one more thin brown paper. Her name written in shaky, familiar letters. Miss Emma Grace Holloway. Her fingers tremble just slightly as she pulls it out. The paper smells like dust and oil and something warm, something familiar. She presses it to her chest and closes the mailbox. She doesn't open it right away. She walks home first, slow, careful, like it might disappear if she's too eager. When she reaches the porch, Mama is there now, awake and pouring coffee. She sees the letter, her eyes lighting up the way they always do when something good breaks through the clouds. Emma hands it to her with both hands, and Mama kisses her forehead without a word. They sit down together on the old porch swing, and Mama opens the envelope with her thumb, folding the paper back with quiet fingers. She reads slowly out loud, her voice soft and steady. Dearest girls, I am well, tired, but well. The days are long here, and the sun feels different harder, maybe. But I think of home every night. I think of Emma's laugh and the way her hair used to fly behind her when she ran through the orchard. I think of you, my love, singing over the stew. I can still hear it when things are quiet. I keep your pictures in my pocket, and when the wind blows just right, I swear it smells like Kansas. Mama stops reading then, just for a moment. Her voice is crossed, and she bites her lip the way she does when she's trying not to cry. Emma leans her head against her mother's shoulder. The porch swing creaks. The sky warms with pink and soft gold. Birds begin to chat in the trees nearby, and for a little while, the whole world feels like it's holding them gently in its hands. They read the rest of the letter together. It's not long. He says the food is bad, but better when someone shares. He says he misses the quiet most of all, and that he prays every night under the same stars. He says he hopes the apples are coming in this year. He signs it the same way as always. Your Papa with all my heart. Emma keeps the letter in her hands for a long time after Mama goes back inside. She runs her fingers over the letters, the ink slightly smudged in places, maybe from rain, maybe from tears. She closes her eyes and imagines him writing it sitting on a wooden crate, squinting by candlelight with dirt under his fingernails, and her photo tucked into the folds of his coat. It feels like a thread between them, thin but strong. The rest of the day passes softly. Emma helps Mama wash the windows and pull weeds from the garden. The sun is high and warm, and the breeze carries the smell of earth and growing things. In the afternoon, they hang clean laundry on the line, and Emma pins the sheets with extra care so they won't flap too hard in the wind. The white cotton catches the light and glows like sails on a quiet sea. She imagines Papa seeing them from far away, waving like flags saying, "We're still here. We're still waiting." As the sun dips low again, the air cools and the shadows stretch longer across the fields. Emma walks to the barn to feed the animals, sits for a moment on the lawn, watching the dust swirl in the golden light. She pulls the letter from her pocket and reads it one more time. The words feel different now, like they've soaked into her skin. She folds it gently and tucks it into the wooden box under her shirt. Later, it will rest with the others. But for now, it stays close. That evening, the stars come out early. The moon is nearly full, rising like a silver coin over the hills. Emma and Mama sit on the porch again, wrapped in their quilts, sipping warm milk with a splash of honey. They don't talk much. They don't need to. The air is thick with summer and memory. and the silence between them is full of love. Emma thinks again of the stars, of the wind, of the way time moves like syrup out here, slow and sticky and golden. She closes her eyes and listens to the crickets, to the rustling leaves, and the creak of the swing. Sleep comes easily tonight. When she climbs into bed, the pillow feels softer than it has in days. She pulls the quilt up and curls on her side, the letter still in her pocket, warm against her heart. Outside, the stars keep watch. The world spins gently on, and the waiting, though still there, doesn't feel so heavy. Not tonight. Morning light returns with the soft chirp of birds and the familiar rattle of wind slipping between the boards of the barn. Emma doesn't open her eyes right away. She lies there, tucked beneath her quilt, feeling the way the warmth of sleep still lingers in her limbs. The letter is under her pillow now, not far, but not pressed against her chest like last night. It's safe there. She reaches out and touches the edge of it, feeling the softness of the folded paper, and then exhales slowly, like letting go of something she's been holding too tight. Her world hasn't changed overnight. The war still rumbles somewhere across the sea, but something feels softer today, like the waiting is not quite so sharp. The morning routines begin, as they always do. Mama is already at the stove when Emma comes down the ladder. The fire crackles low, warming the kitchen with its golden flicker. The scent of cornmeal pancakes drifts through the room, and Emma's stomach growls quietly in response. Mama smiles without turning around. "I thought we'd have something sweet today," she says. Emma doesn't reply. She just sits at the table, chin in her hand, eyes watching the sunlight creep across the floorboards. She counts the dust motes floating in the air, drifting like tiny stars caught in daylight. They eat together, slowly. There's no rush. There's never a rush out here. After breakfast, Emma helps clean the pans and set the kitchen back in order. She dries her hands on her apron and ties her hair back with the same old ribbon, then heads out to feed the chickens. The coop clucks to life as she enters, the hens waddling over with expectant noises. She scatters seed and hums a tune under her breath, a tune she thinks her father used to whistle, though she's not sure if she's remembering it right or just imagining it. The garden needs tending, so she spends the next hour pulling weeds from the carrots and checking the tomatoes for signs of blight. The sun grows warmer on her back, the kind of warmth that makes you sleepy if you sit too long. She pauses and looks around, just rows of green, a distant fence, and fields that roll out like an old patchwork quilt. The clouds above drift slow and lazy, casting shadows that shift like ghosts across the ground. She wonders again what the sky looks like where her father lives. Is it this blue? Do the clouds look the same? By midday, the chores are done and the house is quiet. Mama is mending socks near the window, and Emma takes the little green notebook from the shelf and walks out toward the orchard. It's not a big orchard, just a few rows of apple trees and one stubborn plum tree that hardly bears fruit. But it's quiet here, peaceful. She finds her usual spot beneath the tallest tree, where the grass is soft and the shade is thick, and she sits down with her knees pulled up and the notebook balanced in her lap. She opens it to a blank page and presses her pencil to the paper. I saw 3 bluebirds this morning. One landed on the porch rail and looked right at me. I think he knows things. I think he's seen Papa. Mama made pancakes and didn't hum while she cooked. That's how I knew she was feeling better. The letter is still under my pillow. I want to keep it close, but not too close. Just enough to remember. I think that's the trick to waiting. Holding on, but letting go a little too. She stops writing and just sits for a while, listening. The orchard isn't silent, not really. There's the rustle of branches, the hum of bees, the distant low of a cow. Life is always happening in little ways, even when it feels like nothing is changing. She lies down in the grass and watches the branches sway above her, the sunlight flickering between leaves. It makes her eyelids feel heavy, like the trees are rocking her to sleep with their shadows. The afternoon passes like a dream. When she returns home, her cheeks are pink from the sun, and her hair smells like apples and grass. Mama has started another pot of soup, and the house is filled with the smell of onions and herbs. Emma offers to help, and they work side by side for a while, peeling carrots and slicing potatoes. Mama talks a little about the old neighbors who moved away, about the hens not laying as well, about a squirrel who got into the flower shed. Nothing important, nothing heavy, but it's nice to hear her voice again, filling the space between the walls with something soft. As dusk falls, the sky turns orange and lavender. The fields glow with light, and the shadows stretch long across the ground. Emma sets the table while Mama lights a lantern, and together they eat their meal in the quiet peace of a home that has known both joy and worry. Afterward, Emma helps dry the dishes, then steps out onto the porch. The stars are starting to appear again, one by one, shy and blinking. She leans against the railing and looks up. She speaks softly, like the stars might listen if she's quiet enough. "Good night, Papa," she says. "We're still here. We're still waiting." Then she smiles. A small, slow smile that feels like it's growing from the inside. She doesn't feel quite so far from him now. She heads up to bed, the wooden ladder creaking beneath her steps. Her room is still and dim, and the candle flickers gently as she prepares for sleep. She pulls the letter from beneath the pillow and places it in the box with the others, closing the lid carefully like tucking away a secret. Then she crawls under the quilt, closes her eyes, and lets the soft hush of the night carry her gently away. The house creaks in its old, familiar way. The wind moves slowly through the eaves, and outside the stars blink and breathe like distant memories, patient and steady, keeping watch until morning. The next few days come and go like the soft rise and fall of breath. The routine stays the same: chores in the morning, the long stretch of sunlight warming the land by noon, and quiet evenings spent on the porch or by the fire. But something has shifted inside Emma. The letter, now folded and tucked safely in the wooden box, has given her something solid to hold on to. The kind of comfort that hums under everything like a gentle current she doesn't need to fight anymore. She still watches the road. She still checks the mailbox. But it's not out of desperation now. It's more like hope has built a little chair in her heart and is just waiting there, patiently, sipping warm tea. One afternoon, Emma takes a pair of scissors and cuts a few sprigs of lavender from the garden behind the shed. The smell wraps around her like a blanket, and she ties the stems together with a bit of string, then places the bundle on the table by the window where the sun hits just right. Her father used to say that lavender helped him sleep on restless nights, back when he worked late into the evening and came home smelling like leather and iron. She closes her eyes and tries to remember the sound of the door opening, the creak of his boots, the way his voice got quieter after a long day. It's fuzzy now, not sharp like it used to be, but it's still there, like music playing in another room. That night, the sky turns cloudy. The wind picks up and the trees sway with a low groan. Emma lies in bed, watching the branches cast shadows across the ceiling, shapes that stretch and curl like old hands telling stories. Rain begins to tap against the window pane, soft at first, then steadier. The sound soothes her, like a lullaby she didn't know she needed. She listens with her whole body, each droplet a tiny heartbeat echoing across the roof. In the middle of the night, she wakes up to the sound of thunder rolling far away. Not loud, just enough to stir the quiet. She sits up and pulls her quilt around her shoulders, then tiptoes down the ladder and into the kitchen, where the embers of the fire still glow faintly in the hearth. Mama is already there, sitting in the rocking chair, staring into the flickering coals with a soft expression that Emma can't quite read. "You couldn't sleep either?" Emma asks, her voice barely above a whisper. Mama smiles gently and pats her lap. "Come here." Emma crosses the room and curls into her mother's arms, the quilt still wrapped around her like a cocoon. The rocking chair creaks slowly beneath them as they sit in silence, the rain keeping rhythm on the roof above. "When I was your age," Mama begins, her voice quiet and steady, "my uncle went off to fight in the Great War. We didn't have phones or radios back then, not like now. We had to wait for letters that came weeks late, if they came at all. And every day my mother would bake a loaf of bread and light a candle in the window. Said it helped guide him home. I don't know if it really did, but he came back, eventually." Emma rests her head against Mama's shoulder and listens to her heartbeat. Slow, solid, safe. "I think," Mama continues, "that when you love someone far away, the best thing you can do is keep living the life they remember. Keep the light on. Feed the chickens. Pull the weeds. Make it easy for them to find their way back." Emma nods, eyes half closed now. "That's what I'm doing." Mama kisses the top of her head. "I know you are, baby." They stay like that until the rain fades into mist and the thunder rolls farther away, like a memory softening at the edges. Eventually, Mama stands and helps Emma back up the ladder to bed. She tucks the quilt around her daughter's small frame and hums a lullaby, just one verse, the one she used to sing when Emma was little, before bedtime became quiet and letters started arriving on thin brown paper. The next morning, the world feels washed clean. The grass is greener. The air smells of earth and newness. Emma puts on her boots and goes out early to check on the garden. Nothing is ruined. In fact, the rain seems to have helped. The tomatoes glisten like rubies, and the beans have started curling up their supports with even more determination. She takes it all in slowly, the colors, the smells, the soft squish of mud beneath her soles. She crouches by the carrot row and whispers, "He'd be proud of this," before brushing dirt from her palms and heading back toward the house. Later, when the sun is high and the fields buzz with insects, she sits in the orchard again, this time bringing an old tin can full of water and her paintbrush. She doesn't have real paints, not anymore, but she makes her own with crushed berries, wildflowers, and a little soot from the stove. The colors aren't perfect. The red is too purple, the yellow too pale. But it's enough. She paints the porch, the mailbox, the trees. She paints what she misses and what she still has. She paints a picture of the road with someone walking down it far away, small, but coming closer. When the breeze picks up and threatens to scatter her pages, she places a stone over each one and sits back, breathing deeply. Her hands are stained now, her fingers sticky with juice and soot. But she smiles, because for the first time in a while, her hands feel busy with something more than waiting. They feel like they're building something, making something real from all the missing. That evening, she shows Mama the paintings. Mama doesn't say much. Just takes them gently, runs a thumb across one, and says he'll love these. Then she places them near the window to dry, right next to the lavender bundle. The room smells like flowers, fruit, and ink. A good kind of quiet. As the days stretch on, the waiting becomes something softer. It no longer stings like it once did. It rests in the corners of the house like an old quilt, familiar and warm. Emma still walks to the mailbox, but now she does so with lighter steps, humming to herself, letting her hands skim the tall grass that leans into the gravel path. Some mornings there's no mail at all. Others just a flyer or a church bulletin. But she doesn't dread the empty box the way she used to. Because even when there's nothing inside, the walk itself feels like a promise, like a thread that connects her to wherever he is. She walks it like she's meeting him halfway. One of those mornings, a breeze picks up just as she reaches the post. It lifts the ribbon from her braid and carries it into the air, fluttering like a flag before catching on a low fence post. Emma laughs softly and runs after it, her feet bare, the dust rising in little clouds beneath her heels. When she reaches the ribbon, she doesn't tie it back in her hair. She wraps it around her wrist instead, letting it hang like a reminder of all the little things that make up love. It's frayed at the ends now, the once blue fabric faded to a pale gray, but it's hers. It's history. It's hope made into something you can wear. In the afternoons, she and Mama began a new project organizing the old trunk in the attic. It's full of things Papa left behind. Old gloves, paper mats, deep marks of red pencil, a folded uniform from when he first joined the local fire brigade before the war. There's a photo album, too, the kind of thick black pages and page corners, filled with moments that Emma barely remembers. She runs her fingers over the photos, marveling at how young her parents look. In one picture, Papa is holding a fishing pole and squinting into the sun. In another, he's holding Emma when she was a baby, her face scrunched in sleep, her tiny hand curled against his chest. What was he like back then? Emma asks as Mama gently wipes dust from the edges of the album. Mama smiles without looking up, quiet, thoughtful. He never raised his voice, but you always knew when he meant something. He used to sit out on the porch for hours after dinner, just watching the sky. Said it helped him remember how big the world was. Said it reminded him not to worry so much about little things. Emma nods and picks up a small compass she finds tucked into the corner of the trunk. It still works, the needle wobbling before settling north. She holds it up to her ear, pretending it ticks, pretending it speaks in whispers. Do you think he still watches the sky? She asks quietly. Mama folds a scarf and places it in the drawer beside her. I think he never stopped. The attic feels warmer that afternoon, the dust sparkling in the air like flecks of gold. The trunk may be full of old things, but it doesn't feel sad. It feels like touching something sacred, something that connects the past and now in a way that words never could. That night, Emma takes the compass to bed with her. She tucks it under her pillow and sleeps with one hand resting near it. like it might point her toward her father in her dream. And it does. That night in the soft haze of sleep, she dreams on a train rolling through endless fields. Her father is across from her, reading a newspaper and smiling. Outside, the sky is wide and pink, and the sun is just beginning to dip below the hill. Neither of them says a word, but she feels safe, warm, and completely at peace. When she wakes, the compass is still there. She opens her notebook and writes, "Dreamt of trains, dreamt of quiet, dreamt of home." The weather begins to turn as the summer deepens. The air grows heavier, and thunderstorms roll across the fields more often. Their distant rumbles a steady drumbeat through the evenings. Emma and Mama take turns closing the shutters when the clouds grow dark. Sometimes they sit by the window with tea and listen to the rain slide down the panes, tracing patterns in the glass. It's during one of these storms that Mama teaches Emma how to sew a simple hem. "You might need this skill one day," Mama says, threading the needle and showing her how to pinch the fabric just right. Emma struggles at first. Her stitches are uneven. Her thread tangles, but she doesn't mind. The storm outside makes the world feel small and enclosed, like everything beyond the house is miles away and nothing bad can reach them here. "I'm making something for Papa," Emma says, concentrating on the thread, "a little pouch for his compass, so it won't get lost." Mama nods and runs her hand gently down Emma's back. "That's a good idea. He'll like that." As the wind howls and the rain thickens, the two of them sit side by side on the couch, fabric in their laps, needles gleaming like silver fish in the firelight. The house groans softly, but it holds strong, and inside, the quiet between mother and daughter wraps around them like a soft foot. Later that night, Emma places a finished pouch on the table beside the letter box. She doesn't say anything to Mama, but she knows she added to the next parcel. They can't send much, just small things, but the compass pouch, handmade and stitched with care, feels like enough. Like a message written in thread. "We're still here. We're still waiting. Come home safe." And when Emma crawls into bed that night, the sound of the storm has faded into a soft drizzle. The air is cool against her cheeks. The window is cracked just slightly, letting in the scent of wet leaves and pine. She buries her face in the pillow and exhales slowly, letting sleep settle over her like a whisper. The next morning breaks clear and golden, as if the storm had scrubbed the sky clean overnight. The trees drip quietly, their leaves heavy with leftover rain, and the earth smells rich and alive beneath Emma's bare feet. She walks through the garden path to check for damage, but everything seems untouched. The beans have grown an inch overnight, and the pumpkin vines are curling with new determination along the fence. She smiles and kneels to pull a few weeds, her fingers sinking easily into the soft, damp soil. She finds herself humming again Papa's tune, slow and steady. The rhythm keeps time with the wind, and the melody seems to settle into the very bones of the land. She imagines the tune traveling beyond the farm, carried by the breeze across towns and fields and oceans like a message drifting home. Inside, Mama is wrapping the small package to send to Papa. Alongside the compass pouch, she tucks in a piece of dried lavender, a sliver of soap, and a handkerchief stitched with his initials. Emma watches as Mama folds the brown paper just so and ties it with thin twine, the movement familiar and precise. They've done this before, but today it feels more sacred, more focused. Mama seals the edge with a lick of glue and presses her hand to the top. then nods. Take your time and stay on the path. Emma packs the small parcel into her basket, places her notebook beneath it, and sets off down the dirt road. The walk to town takes a while long enough for thoughts to stretch out and soften, like dough left to rise. The birds chatter in the hedgerows, the grass sways gently, and the air is warm but not heavy. She passes the same rocks and tree stumps as always, but today everything feels more alive, more aware. As she walks, she remembers stories Papa used to tell her about how he and Mama met, about the time he rescued a calf stuck in the river, about how he once found a bird's nest in his boot. Each memory plays out in her head like a little film, flickering quietly behind her eyes. She smiles at the thought of him lifting her onto his shoulders when she was small, the world spinning by below in tall waves of grass and light. When she reaches the post office, the woman behind the counter greets her with a kind smile and gentle eyes. "For your daddy?" she asks, and Emma nods. "He's been writing more," Emma says quietly, placing the parcel on the counter. "That's good," the woman replies. "Means he's doing all right." Strong hands, those soldiers. Emma watches as the parcel is weighed and stamped. The machine clicks and hisses softly, and the ink presses down with finality. It'll take time to arrive, they both know that, but the act of sending it and releasing something from your hands into the unknown is strangely comforting. Outside the post office, he stops for a while and watches the people pass. A boy in age runs by holding a kite, its tail dancing behind him like a comet. A couple argue quietly over a list of supplies. A farmer lifts sacks of grain into a wagon, wiping sweat from his brow. Life in all its little pieces keeps going, and that, she thinks, is the most beautiful thing of all. She walks slowly back toward the farm, the sun casting long shadows behind her. When she passes the old field where wildflowers grow unchecked, she picks a few stems of goldenrod and Queen Anne's lace, tucking them gently into her basket. Their petals are soft against her fingers, like breath made visible. Back home, Mama has started baking bread, and the scent fills every room with warmth. Emma places the flowers in the kitchen jar and washes her hands, the cool water rinsing the dust from her skin. As they eat slices of warm bread and honey together, the silence is peaceful, full of small glances and gentle gestures. The fire crackles faintly in the stove, and the hum of summer insects rises outside the screen door. That night, Emma brings her notebook outside onto the porch. The stars are beginning to show themselves again, scattered like tiny lanterns across the vast sky. She sits with her legs curled beneath her and writes by the dim light of the lantern beside her. "I sent the pouch today. Mama said I could. I watched the lady at the post office stamp it with a big loud click, like a seal that keeps something safe. I hope he gets it before the cold sets in. I hope he knows it's stitched with love. I put lavender in it so it will smell like home." He pauses and glances up at the sky and continues. "I keep thinking about how the stars he sees are the same as mine. Even when everything else feels far away, that part never changes. I wonder if he'll look up and imagine doing the same thing. I hope so. I really hope so." She closes the notebook slowly, smoothing the page before tucking it away. Then she leans back in the porch chair and lets her eyes trace the constellations. Her father once taught her their names: Orion, Cassiopeia, the Big Dipper. She can't remember them all now, but she remembers his voice as he pointed them out, his breath warm against her cheek in the cool night. She stays outside until the wind grows cooler and the cicadas begin to quiet. Then she tiptoes back inside, past the softly sleeping house, up the ladder to her bed. She lies on her side, listening to the faint rustle of curtains and the occasional pop of cooling wood. Her eyes grow heavy, her breathing slows, and soon sleep finds her gently, like an old friend. Emma wakes to the scent of cinnamon. It fills the air like a song, warm and slow, curling through the wood grain of the house and drawing her down the ladder before her eyes are fully open. In the kitchen, Mama has baked a pie. It rests on the windowsill, steam curling from the crust in quiet spirals. The sky outside is still soft with early light, the sun barely pushing over the hills. Everything feels a little gentler this morning, like the world has taken a deep breath and decided to be kind. Thought we'd have something sweet with breakfast, Mama says with a smile, not turning from the stove. Her voice is coated in that same cinnamon warmth. It's your father's favorite. Figured it might bring some good luck. Emma nods and sits at the table, holding her hands in her lap. I smell from old stories and something, like holidays and coming home. She stares at the folds in the crust, each one shaped by her mother's hand, and tries to remember the last time Papa had it right. It was winter, maybe 2 years ago. Snow on the porch, boots lined by the fire, laughter in the room like it didn't know how to leave. They eat together quietly, the pie warm and soft, the crust flaking like paper between their fingers. No plates today, just slices in hand and syrup on their thumbs. The sun climbs slowly outside, bathing the room in gold. Emma thinks about how small things like pie on a Tuesday can feel like promises. After breakfast, Mama brings out a box from the top shelf of the pantry. I've been meaning to sort through this, she says, dusting it off with the edge of her apron. Letters from the old days. Might be time to read through a few. They sit on the floor together, legs crossed like schoolgirls, and begin to sift through the bundle. The envelopes are yellowed with age, the ink faded and soft. Some are from Papa's own father, back when he left home to work on the railroad. Others are from neighbors who moved west during the drought years, sending updates from places Emma has only ever heard of in passing: Oklahoma, Montana, California. She reads slowly, carefully, letting the old handwriting guide her like a trail. One letter is from Mama, written when she was still courting Papa. Emma's eyes widen as she reads her mother's younger words, sweeter, sillier, full of questions and hope. You were so romantic, Emma teases, and Mama laughs, shaking her head. Don't remind me. I was young. Didn't know a thing about anything, except that your father had nice eyes and good hands. They keep reading until the light shifts in the window, until the shadows fall at the walls, and the letters form little hills of memory between them. It feels like time has folded, like the past is sitting right there, with them on the floor, nodding gently, breathing alongside them. In the afternoon, Emma carries a small basket to the back field. She's gathering herbs, this time wild mint, yarrow, and a little thyme. She likes the way they smell on her fingers, sharp and clean, like something old and healing. She crushes a leaf between her thumb and forefinger, then brings it to her nose. The scent is green and bitter, like a memory half remembered. She imagines her father doing the same wherever he is, touching something familiar, something grounding, something that reminds him of her. She brings the bundle home and lays the herbs out on a cloth by the window where the sun can dry them slowly over the next few days. They'll use them in stews and teas. Maybe even send some in the next letter. It's not much, but it's a piece of home. A whisper of normalcy in a world that's still catching its breath. That evening, Mama teaches Emma how to braid a rug from old strips of cloth. They sit together on the porch, the fabric stretched across their laps, fingers moving in a quiet rhythm that doesn't need conversation. The sky glows with the last light of day. Fireflies beginning to blink in the tall grass, their soft glow like blinking stars fallen to earth. This was your great-grandmother's way, Mama says softly, tugging a knot tight. She made a new rug every season, said it kept the floors warm and the soul calm. Emma doesn't reply. She just braids, feeling the thread pull and settle, feeling the way hands move without thinking when they've done something often enough. Her palms ache a little, but it's the good kind of ache, the kind that means something is being made, being shaped from nothing. The finished braid lies coiled at their feet, not yet sewn into place, but full of promise. Emma touches the edges and smiles. It looks like a nest, she says, like something waiting to hold something else. Mama nods. That's what home is, I think. As night settles in, Emma curls up on the porch bench with a blanket draped over her shoulders. Mama returns inside to finish folding clothes, but Emma lingers. The air is cool against her cheeks, and the stars are bright again tonight. She watches the horizon, just in case a figure appears, just in case headlights blow, just in case. But when none of those things happen, she doesn't feel sad. Instead, she feels the quiet press of patience, of faith stitched into every hour. She thinks of the pouch she sewed, the herbs drying in the sun, the letters folded into piles like little bricks building something strong. And she knows, deep down, like a seed knows how to reach for the light, that all of this waiting is not wasted. It is something full of meaning. It is something full of love. She yawns, slow and soft, and stretches her arms overhead. Then she picks up her notebook and writes, I think home is made of small things. Ribbons, pie, fireflies, hands that keep busy even when hearts are tired. I think he'll know that when he comes back. I think he'll feel it in the walls. She closes the book gently, presses her cheek to the cushion, and listens to the night, the breeze in the grass, the crack of the old porch wood, the gentle hum of everything living and breathing and waiting. Sleep comes not like a shadow tonight, but like a friend, quiet, kind, certain. The next morning, Emma wakes with the sunlight already stretching across the wooden floor in long, golden strips. There's no rooster today. He must still be asleep, or maybe he's given up trying to be the first one awake. The house is quiet except for the ticking clock in the hallway and the soft rustle of curtains breathing in and out with the breeze. Emma stretches beneath the quilt, her toes pressing against the cool edges of the bed. She doesn't rise right away. Instead, she lets the stillness settle around her like warm bath water. There's no hurry, no bell to ring. The day will begin when she's ready. Downstairs, Mama is already in the garden, her silhouette bobbing up and down between rows of green beans and cabbage. Emma can see her from the loft, bending and standing, her wide sun hat flopping with every movement. The sight is calming in its predictability, like seeing a favorite story play out over and over. Emma dresses slowly and ties her hair back with the faded ribbon she now wears every day. She runs her fingers along the edge of the windowsill before heading out into the world. The soil is soft underfoot, still damp from yesterday's storm. A few mushrooms have sprouted in the shadowy corners of the yard, and Emma pauses to examine one round and squat with a cap like a little umbrella. She doesn't pick it, just watches it for a moment as a line of ants makes its way across the base. Life here always finds something to do, even in the quiet. Especially in the quiet. When she reaches the garden, Mama offers her a smile without stopping. "We've got peas that need pulling and carrots ready for checking," she says, holding out a woven basket. Emma takes it and kneels beside the tall rose, her hands moving carefully through the vines. The work is simple, satisfying. The pods are plump and slightly cool to the touch, and each one makes a soft snap as it's pulled free. She lines them up in the basket, one by one, building a little tower of green. While they work, they don't speak much. Only the occasional note, careful of the roots, or watch for bugs under the leaves. But the silence is comfortable, full of shared thoughts and years of routine. Emma glances up every so often toward the road, just to check, even though she knows better. Still, part of her hopes to catch something, a figure, a shadow, a shape walking toward them. But today, there's nothing. Just sunlight on the gravel and the shimmer of heat beginning to rise. After the garden work, they sit on the porch steps with a bowl of shelled peas between them. Emma eats a few raw, savoring the sweet crunch. Mama fans herself with her apron and closes her eyes, letting the sun warm her face. "He used to sit here, remember?" Mama says quietly. "After supper, always on the left side of the steps. He said it was the best angle to see the sunset." Emma nods, chewing slowly. "I sit there now." "I know you do," Mama says with a smile. "He'd be glad to know someone's keeping the spot warm." They finish the peas and go inside, where the kitchen is cooler. Emma helps with the rest of the afternoon chores, drying the last of the herbs, organizing the pantry shelves, and sweeping dust from the corners of the living room. It's not glamorous work, but there's something grounding about it, something steady. In a world full of letters that might never come and days that blur together, it feels good to hold a broom and see a clean floor at the end of it. Later, Emma brings her notebook to the front room, sitting by the window where the light spills across her page like honey. She writes slower today, not because she has less to say, but because each word feels like a thread she's carefully weaving into something bigger than herself. "I think time is a strange thing," she writes. "It doesn't move like I thought it would. Some days stretch forever, and others blink by, but it keeps going, whether we feel it or not. I wonder if Papa feels time the same way, or if every minute feels like a mile when you're far from home." She pauses and taps her pencil against her chin. Then she adds, "I'm going to keep writing, even when there's nothing new to say, because maybe one day he'll want to read it. And maybe these quiet days will mean something more when we look back on them together." The sun begins to dip low, and Mama calls her outside to help hang the evening wash. The clothesline stretches between two trees, their trunks wide and strong like ancient pillars. Emma clips the bed sheets and pillowcases carefully, watching them ripple in the wind like sails. She closes her eyes for a moment and pretends she's on a ship, sailing across the world toward someone waiting on the other side. After the laundry is done, they share a simple dinner vegetable stew with bread from 2 days ago. toasted in the skillet with butter. The meal is quiet, unremarkable, but it's warm. It fills their bellies and lingers in the room like a memory. Afterward, they sit on the porch again, watching the fireflies blink across the yard. Emma rests her head on Mama's shoulder, and for a while, neither of them speaks. Then, as the stars begin to appear, Mama whispers, "He'd be proud of you." Emma doesn't answer, but she squeezes her mother's hand, and that's enough. When she climbs into bed that night, the moon is high and full, casting a soft glow through the slats of the window. Emma lies on her back, watches it rise, slow and silky, like an old friend returning after a long journey. The light touches her quilt, her hair, her notebook resting open on the shelf. She closes her eyes and breathes deep. The house settles around her with the creaks and sighs of worn wood and good memories. Outside, the wind hums through the trees, and inside, sleep comes like it always does, now gentle, sure, and full of dreams that wait with quiet patience for morning. The days drift gently into one another after that, each one soft-edged and familiar, like a quilt worn smooth with use. The rhythm of the farm continues: feed the chickens, check the garden, sweep the porch. Write a little, read a little, watch the sky. Emma no longer counts the days since Papa left, not because she's forgotten, but because she's realized the numbers don't help. What matters now is the shape of each moment, the quiet comfort in the repetition, the way each sunrise brings with it the small chance that today might be the day. One morning, while sorting through the woodpile behind the house, Emma finds something tucked beneath the kindling, a small carved figure about the size of her thumb. It's old, worn, smooth, and shaped like a bird. She brushes off the dust and holds it in her palm. It's light, but sturdy. She recognizes Papa's style right away. He used to carve little things like this during long winters, whittling by the fire while the snow whispered at the windows. This one must have fallen from his coat pocket months ago, gone unnoticed. Emma carries the bird inside and places it on the windowsill, right beside the sprays of lavender and the mason jar of dried wildflowers. She sits and stares at it for a while. There's something comforting about the way its wings are folded, the way it seems to be looking out the window, like it's waiting, too. That evening, as the sun sinks behind the hills and the sky blushes with fading light, Emma writes in her notebook, "Found one of Papa's birds today. It reminded me that even the quiet things leave behind signs. Sometimes the world whispers when it can't shout. I think I've started to hear it better." Later, she takes the bird outside and places it gently on the porch rail. It faces the road, as if keeping watch. She thinks about what it means to wait, not just in stillness, but with love, with action, with care. Waiting, she's learned, isn't just sitting still. It's sweeping the porch, writing the letters, hanging the sheets, making the pie. It's being ready when the moment comes, even if you don't know when that will be. One night, not long after, a storm rolls in with little warning. The wind rises like a sudden breath, and the sky turns gray with heavy clouds. Emma and Mama rush to pull the laundry from the line, laughing as the wind tries to tug the sheets from their hands. They stumble inside just as the first drops fall, their arms full of damp cloth, the air around them buzzing with thunder and the smell of rain. They light candles and place them in the windows, a tradition Mama insists on during storms, so he can find his way home, even in the dark, she always says. Emma used to think it was silly, but now she watches the flame flicker behind the glass and feels a quiet coming of power in it. They eat dinner by candlelight, simple sandwiches and fruit, the storm running softly overhead. Afterward, they sit on the floor with a deck of cards and play a slow, thoughtful game of rocket. The wind sighs against the house, and the lightning comes only now and then, lighting the room for a heartbeat at a time. It's cozy. Wrapped in the hush of the storm, the two of them laugh softly and share long silences. It feels like the world has folded in just for them. When the game ends and the candles are burning low, Mama reaches over and brushes a lock of hair from Emma's forehead. "You're doing good, baby," she says. "You're strong in a quiet way, just like your father." Emma leans into her, resting her head on Mama's shoulder. She doesn't speak. She just listens to the rain and lets herself feel safe in this small, flickering moment. That night, the storm fades into a soft drizzle, and the air grows still. Emma falls asleep to the sound of water dripping from the eaves and dreams of a wide open field with no end, the sky endless above, and a figure walking toward her from far away, slow but certain. She doesn't run. She just waits, the grass brushing against her ankles, the wind tugging gently at her ribbon. The next day dawns quiet and cool. The storm has left everything fresh and green. The dirt road is lined with puddles, each one reflecting pieces of the sky. Emma walks the edge of the path, hopping gently from stone to stone, careful not to splash. She carries a basket on her arm, heading to collect eggs and check the traps near the orchard. Along the way, she finds a feather of soft, pale thing with a slight curve. She tucks it into her braid, letting it hang like a whisper. When she returns home, she writes a new letter to Papa. It's longer than usual. She tells him about the storm, about the bird carving, about the pie, and the peas, and the fireflies. She tells him that she misses him, yes, but also that she's okay, that Mama is okay, that the waiting has gotten easier, not because it hurts less, but because it's filled with things that remind her of him. She ends the letter like she always does. We're still here, still waiting. Love, Emma. She doesn't cry when she folds it. She doesn't stare at the page too long. She just seals it, tucks it into the drawer where they keep outgoing mail, and moves on to the next small thing, the next thread in the tapestry of her day. Because now she understands. Each little act, each gentle task, each simple moment, it all adds up. It all becomes the story of their waiting. Not a sad story, not a heavy one, but a quiet one, full of patience and pies and poems and porch swings, full of love. Emma begins to notice how many little things in her world carry his memory. The old rake leaning by the shed that still has his initials carved into the handle. The chipped mug he used every morning for coffee, now holding pencils on the kitchen counter. The flannel shirt, far too big for her, hanging on the back of the door like it's just waiting to be picked up. None of these things speak out loud. They don't shout, but they hum gently in the corners of the house. Reminders that love doesn't leave when a person goes away. It lingers in the worn edges, the faded fabric, the scent of pine smoke in the folds. She starts wearing that shirt on cooler evenings, the sleeves bunched up at her wrist, the hem nearly brushing her knee. Mama doesn't comment, but sometimes Emma catches her looking at her with a quiet smile, like she sees both of them at once, Emma and the man who wore it first. One day, one ear missing, and something unexpected, a tiny heart, no bigger than a walnut, carved from smooth, dark wood. It's plain, no designs, no initials, just a small, weighty piece of warmth shaped by careful hands. She turns it over in her palm, then places it on her windowsill beside the bird. They look good there together, as if they've always belonged side by side. At bedtime, she moves the heart beneath her pillow. That night, she dreams of a lantern glowing on a distant path and a figure walking steadily toward it, step by step without fear or hurry. The next morning is misty. Fog curls low over the fields like soft cotton, wrapping around the trees and clinging to the tall grass. Emma loves mornings like this. The world feels hushed, as if it's holding its breath. She slips outside barefoot, walking slowly through the damp, letting the dew soak the hem of her nightdress. The earth is quiet under her feet, and the only sound is the distant coo of mourning doves. She wanders to the old swing hanging from the walnut tree. It creaks gently as she settles onto it, the ropes damp but strong. She rocks slowly back and forth, watching the fog move across the pasture like waves. For a moment, she pretends she is the only person left in the world. Not lonely, just still. The kind of stillness that invites thoughts to run like bubbles in water. She closes her eyes and whispers, "Where are you now, Papa?" But it's not a question asked in sadness. It's asked the way someone might wonder about the weather in another town, period. Quiet, full of the hope that they'll find out soon. Back inside, the fog eventually thickens, and the sun peeks through the clouds. Mama is baking again, this time cornbread with molasses, and Emma helps by greasing the pan and folding the kitchen towels. They work in silence, side by side, the soft clatter of measuring spoons and the rhythmic thump of stirring filling the room. The kitchen window is open, and the breeze brings in the scent of honeysuckle. After lunch, they sit on the back porch. Mama stitches, and Emma reads aloud from a small book of poems they found in the attic. The pages are yellowed and the cover is torn, but the words inside still ring soft and true. She reads one about time, another about rivers, and a final one about waiting for someone on a hill. When she finishes, Mama says, "He would have liked that one." Emma nods. "I'll read it again when he comes home." That evening, they hang wind chimes made from bits of old silverware on the edge of the porch. Papa had started them one summer, long before the war, stringing forks and spoons on thin wire to catch the wind. They'd been in the shed, half forgotten, but now, cleaned and polished, they tinkle softly with every breeze, like a choir of tiny bells singing just for them. Emma sits on the porch swing and closes her eyes, listening to the delicate music of spoons against forks. It makes her feel like time itself has slowed down, like the days are strung together in perfect little pieces, each one shining when the light hits just right. She writes again that night, this time with a little more hope in her pen. There's music in everything that lives, the wind, the chimes, the drip of rain from the east. It all sounds like a lullaby. Maybe that's what waiting really is, not silence, but listening. Listening closely enough to hear the things that are always there. She closes her notebook, slips the little wooden heart back beneath her pillow, and drifts off to sleep with a smile so soft it barely touches her lips, but it lives behind her eyes, in the way her breathing slows, in the way her fingers curl loosely beneath the covers. Outside, the chimes sing her to sleep, and the stars blink above the house. like they're keeping watch over dreams. And somewhere across oceans and dust and distance, someone turns his face toward the night sky, looking for the same stars. He doesn't know that she saw a bird today, or that the pie was perfect, or that his old shirt now smells like lavender and sun. But he knows she's waiting. He knows she's there. He knows she still believes. The next few weeks pass in a golden hush. Late summer stretches across the farm like warm honey, slow, thick, and sweet in the way it fills each day. The tomatoes ripen. The breeze cools just slightly, and the sound of crickets grows louder in the evenings, as if they've taken on the job of keeping the quiet full. Emma begins to mark the season not by dates, but by the way the wind shifts, the way the sun leans lower in the sky, casting longer shadows across the fields. One morning, a small surprise arrives. Not a letter, not a package, just a simple envelope addressed in unfamiliar handwriting. Inside, there's a short note from a fellow soldier in Papa's unit. He writes kindly, plainly saying that Papa spoke often at home of the porch swing, of Emma's drawings. He writes that Papa had shared Emma's letters, even passed around the lavender she sent. Your father, he writes, always kept us calm when things got loud. He knew how to listen, even when he didn't say much. We miss him, and we hope he gets home soon. He talks about you every time he smiles. Emma reads the note 3 times. The handwriting is clumsy, but careful, the ink smudged in places. She brings it to Mama, who reads it silently, one hand resting over her heart. Neither of them says anything right away, but when Emma folds the paper again and places it gently into the box beneath her bed, she does so with reverence, like placing a jewel into velvet. Another thread, another piece of the story. Later, she draws a picture for Papa, not of anything complicated, just the porch swing, the trees, the two of them sitting side by side like they used to. She tucks it into an envelope with her next letter, along with a few sunflower seeds wrapped in wax paper. He used to say they were the happiest flowers, with their faces always turned toward the light. She hopes there's a window near him wherever he is, a small pot of dirt, just enough space to let something good grow. On the porch that evening, Emma watches the sunflowers in the garden sway in the wind. They're tall now, nodding gently, golden petals trembling as if they're whispering among themselves. She imagines them carrying her message through the air, their roots touching the heartbeat of the earth, their heads lifting her words toward the sky. Mama sits beside her with a cup of tea, her eyes half closed, as she listens to the rustling leaves. You were right to send the seeds, she says. He'll like that. Reminds him where he comes from. Emma nods. They always look like they're waiting for someone to come home. That night, she takes the little carved bird from the windowsill and places it on the porch rail, again, beside the wind chimes. The silver tinkles, the bird watches, and Emma curls up in the swing with her blanket wrapped around her shoulders. She doesn't bring her notebook tonight. She doesn't need to write anything down. Some days are meant to be lived without recording, just breathed in and exhaled slowly, like a lullaby sung for no one in particular. The stars blink awake overhead, and the moon rises fat and pale over the hills. The house behind her is quiet. Mama's light is out. The garden sleeps. Even the chickens seem to be dreaming. She watches the road like she always does, even though it stays empty. But there's no ache in her chest tonight, no sharp tug. Just the soft, steady presence of love living where silence used to be. As she drifts toward sleep, her thoughts scatter gently, like petals tossed into a stream. She thinks of her father's hands, how they smelled like earth and soap. She thinks of the rhythm of his voice when he told stories. She remembers the exact shape of his laugh, the way it always started in his chest before it reached his mouth. She remembers his promise, whispered to her the night before he left. When I close my eyes, I'll be sitting right here beside you. That's how we stay close. And tonight, she believes it completely. The next morning brings a surprise of a different kind. As Emma walks past the orchard on her way to check the traps, she finds a rabbit sitting perfectly still in the path. Not scared, not running, just there, staring at her with soft brown eyes. She stops and smiles. "Well, hello," she whispers, crouching slowly. The rabbit blinks once, then turns and hops away, disappearing between two rows of apple trees. But the moment stays with her. Something about the stillness of it, the quiet recognition, the way the world offered her a pause, a breath, a gift she didn't ask for. She tells Mama about it when she returns, and Mama just nods like she understands something more than she says. "Sometimes we're meant to see things like that," she says, "things that don't need explaining." That evening, Emma begins to make a new pouch, this one smaller, stitched with blue thread and lined with a square of linen that still smells faintly of lavender. She doesn't know what it will hold yet, or whether she'll keep it or send it, but she makes it carefully, stitch by stitch, letting the rhythm soothe her. There's something sacred in the act of creating, something healing. Even the smallest item made by hand holds a piece of the person who made it. As she works, the wind picks up and carries the scent of drying herbs through the open window. The chimes sing softly on the porch. The house is filled with light from a single oil lamp, casting warm shadows across the table. The scene feels still, but not frozen. More like a breath drawn in and held not out of fear, but out of reverence for the moment. That night, when Emma goes to bed, she places the unfinished pouch on her bedside table and rests one hand gently over it. She closes her eyes and listens, not just to the quiet, but to the heartbeat of the house, the sigh of the walls, the breath of the curtains. And as she drifts off, she hears a voice, not loud, not even spoken, just a feeling, soft as a whisper. "I'm coming home." And whether it's real or imagined, heard or remembered, it wraps around her like a lullaby and carries her into the most peaceful sleep she's had in months. The next day begins with quiet thunder in the distance, low and far away, the kind that barely stirs the wind but makes the sky feel heavier. Emma stands barefoot on the porch, sipping tea from Mama's chipped blue mug, and watches the clouds roll in slow and thick like folded wool. There's no rush to begin the day. The chickens are already fed. The water barrels are full. The garden can wait. Sometimes the best thing to do is nothing at all. Just listen. Just watch. Mama joins her a few minutes later with a bowl of apples and a paring knife, settling into her usual chair. She peels without speaking, the shavings falling in soft curls onto a cloth at her feet. The rhythm is steady, almost musical. Emma leans back in the swing and closes her eyes, letting the breeze move over her like a slow wave. There's something different in the air today, not urgency, not fear, just a hush, like the world is waiting. By noon, the rain begins not with force, but with grace. Thin sheets falling through the trees, tapping gently on the windows, gathering on the porch roof in tiny rivers. Emma brings the little wooden bird inside and sets it back on the windowsill, watching the drops slide down the glass behind it. The bird stares out like always, like it knows what's coming. She spends the afternoon in the front room reading old letters. Not Papa's letters, she's read those too many times to count, but the ones from long before. One she found bundled in twine beneath the dresser, yellowed with age and written in looping cursive that takes effort to decipher. Love letters between people she never met, a neighbor and a soldier, a woman and her sister who moved west, a child writing home from school. Each one a thread in a bigger story, each one a reminder that people have always waited, always hoped, always written things down just to feel less far apart. Later, as the light grows dimmer and the rain taps a little harder against the roof, Emma hears the sound of wheels. Not the mail truck, not a neighbor's wagon, something slower, softer. Her heart doesn't leap, not right away. It stirs, like someone tugged a string that hadn't been pulled in a long time. She walks to the window and pulls back the curtain. There, on the long dirt road that curves up to the house, is a figure, too far to see clearly. Just a shape in the rain, walking slowly, one hand holding a small satchel, the other gripping the rim of his cap. She freezes, fingers still gripping the curtain. The figure draws closer, steps even slow, as if each one carries years behind it. Mama appears beside her, silent, eyes wide but steady. Her hands rise to her mouth, but she says nothing, just watches. When the figure reaches the gate, Emma can finally see. It's him, tired, soaked, thinner than she remembers, but his eyes haven't changed. He pushes the gate open, stops at the porch steps, and looks up at the house like he's remembering how to breathe. Neither of them moves at first. It's like time forgets what it's supposed to do. Then Emma's feet find the floor. She runs, not fast, not frantic, just sure. The screen door bangs open. Her bare feet slap the wet boards. The rain is cold, sharp, but she doesn't feel it. She throws her arms around him before he can speak. He smells like travel, like dust and leather, something old, like metal and paper. And underneath all of it is faintly lavender. His arms wrap around her like they always did, strong and gentle. And suddenly the waiting isn't a shake in the room anymore. It's gone. It's done. Mama is there too, her hand trembling as she touches his face, as if to make sure he's not something dreamt up in the thunder. He holds her, holds both of them, and the porch is quiet except for the rain and the breath they all forgot they were holding. They don't speak much at first. There's no need. Every glance, every touch, every silence between them is already full of words. Emma presses her face to his chest, feeling the steady beat of his heart. It's the same. Exactly the same. Later, inside, he sits at the table with a towel around his shoulders. Mama makes tea without asking, and Emma wraps her hands around the warm cup, like it might help her hold the moment longer. He looks around the room, his eyes pausing on the little bird on the windowsill, the pouch on the table, the wind chimes singing softly outside. I got every letter, he says finally, voice low and gravelly. Every one. And I read them when I didn't think I could keep going, especially the ones about the pie. Emma smiles through tears. She didn't know were coming. I brought the seeds, he adds, reaching into his bag. Planted one in a tin. It bloomed. And just like that, the house shifts. The silence is gone. The waiting is over. Everything familiar is still here. The rain, the quilt, the chimes. But now it sings a new song. Not of longing, but of return. That night, Emma lies in bed and listens to the sounds of the house. The soft murmur of voices downstairs, the creak of the stairs, the weighted walls. Everything feels the same, but everything is new. She closes her eyes, whispers the words she's written so many times. We're still here, but this time she adds something else. And so are you. Morning comes slow and golden. The rain has moved on, leaving behind a sky so blue it looks like someone washed it overnight. The windows sparkle with dew. The porch boards steam gently in the sun. Birds call to each other across the field like they've got good news to share, and the wind is soft, like it doesn't want to disturb the peace that's settled over the farm. Emma wakes to the smell of bacon and coffee, real coffee, not the stretched-out substitute they'd been rationing for months. She blinks her eyes open slowly, not because she's tired, but because she wants to savor every second of this new reality. Her pillow still smells like wood and lavender. Her hands curl beneath the quilt. Her heart feels calm. Not because nothing will ever hurt again, but because the part of her that had been stretched and waiting and wondering has finally come home. She steps down the ladder and finds Papa already at the table, flipping through the old book of poems she left there the night before. He's in a clean shirt, now one of the ones Mama always kept pressed and folded, just in case. His hair is a little longer, and there's a new scar near his temple, faint but present. But his eyes are exactly as they always were, steady, warm, familiar. "Morning, sunshine," he says, and Emma crosses the room and hugs him before she even thinks to reply. They eat breakfast together, Papa, Mama, Emma, around the table that once felt too big. Now it feels full. The light coming through the window turns everything golden. Even the chipped cups and mismatched spoons feel like treasures. There's laughter now. Not loud, not boisterous. Just soft chuckle between sips, glancing trading like secrets. Little jokes carried before the viewer, dusted off and spoken like charms. After the plates are cleared, they step outside. Papa walks slowly, his boots crunching softly in the gravel, taking everything in like it's new again. He touches the railing on the porch, stands beneath the old walnut tree, runs his hand along the side of the barn. He pauses at the chimes, listening to them with a small smile. Then he spots the little carved bird on the windowsill. "Did you find that?" he asks. Emma nods. "It was under the kindling. I thought I lost it," he murmurs. He picks it up gently, turns it in his hand, then sets it back where it was. "Looks good there." They walk the edge of the field together, Emma pointing out what's changed and what's stayed the same. The sunflower row, the new patch of herbs, the compost pile she and Mama had finally gotten around to building. They don't talk much. There's no need to. Papa walks slowly, eyes scanning everything like he's remembering how to breathe in peace. Emma stays close, her steps smaller than his, her hand brushing the edge of his coat now and then just to remind herself it's real. Later they sit beneath the orchard trees and shell peas into a metal bowl. Papa's hands move slowly, his fingers less sure than before, but the rhythm comes back to him like music you haven't heard in years, but still remember how to hum. He tells a few stories, not the scary ones. Not yet. Just small memories. snapping open, fabric rustling, and birds singing overhead. The kind of quiet that feels earned. That evening, after the chores are done and supper has settled warm in their bellies, they light the lantern and sit on the porch swing just like they used to, the three of them side by side. The stars come out slowly, linking their soft light over the roof. The wind chimes sing. The lavender on the windowsill sways. Emma leans her head on Papa's arm and closes her eyes. "You know," she says softly, "I wrote to you almost every day." "I know," Papa says. "I read every word." "Even the boring parts?" "Especially the boring parts." They laugh and Mama smiles and looks up at the sky. "You kept us going," he adds. "You and your letters. You made the days feel like they belonged to something again, like they were building toward something." "They were," Emma whispers. And then, just like that, the silence stretches comfortably around them. No one rushes to fill it. They sit, breathing the same air again, sharing the same space again, watching the same stars they used to only imagine together. That night, Emma climbs into bed with a feeling so full it doesn't even have a name. Not just happiness, not just relief. Something rounder, deeper, like the sound of the earth itself exhaling. She lies still, staring at the ceiling. The small bar mark tucked back under the pillow. The notebook closed in the cabinet. She doesn't need to wait tonight. Because tonight, everything that needed to be written has already come home. The morning after he returns is quieter than the rest, not because there's less to do, but because there's no longer a hole in the rhythm. Everything still needs tending. The hens still cluck for feed. The stove still needs lighting. The garden still whispers for water, but now it all feels like part of something whole. Papa's presence fills in the silence that had spread across the house like ivy, so slowly, so silently, that Emma hadn't even realized how much space it had taken. Until now, when it's gone. He rises early, like he always used to, boots on before sunrise, sipping coffee with one hand while flipping through the newspaper with the other. Emma wakes to the sound of his quiet movements, the chair creaking, the porch door opening, then the faint creak of the swing rocking back and forth as he settles into it. She doesn't get up right away. Instead, she lies beneath her quilt with her eyes closed, listening to the sounds she used to imagine during the waiting. Now they're real, no longer echoes of memory. They're here. They're happening. When she finally steps outside, he's there with a second cup of coffee, already steaming in the cool morning air. He hands it to her without saying anything, and they sit together, watching the light unfold across the field. It spreads slow and wide, painting the tops of the grass and warming the porch boards beneath their feet. She doesn't ask about the war, not yet. She doesn't need to. Some things will be spoken in time, when the wind is still and the heart is ready. For now, it's enough just to be near each other, breathing the same air, looking out at the same horizon. The hours pass gently. They rebuild the fence post that had been leaning too long, haul in firewood from the far edge of the property, and fix the shed door that always stuck in the summer heat. Each small task was woven with pauses for lemonade, long looks, and soft smiles. There's a new tenderness in Papa's hands when he's learned the value of moving slowly, of noticing the texture of every moment. He hums, sometimes, quietly, a tune Emma doesn't know. She never asks what it is. She just listens. That evening, they eat by lantern light, the table full of fresh bread, roasted vegetables, and Mama's plum jam. It's not a feast. but it feels like one. Papa says grace with his head bowed low, his voice strong but soft, and when he lifts his eyes, there's something shining there that makes Mama reach for his hand across the table. Emma watches them in that moment and knows. Love is not loud. Love is the way you sit beside someone without speaking, the way you stir the soup, the way you fold the letter, the way you wait. After dinner, Papa brings out a small package from his satchel, something he'd carried all this way, wrapped in cloth and worn from the road. He places it in Emma's hands. It's heavier than she expected. Inside is a wooden box, carved with delicate lines and inlaid with tiny shells. She opens it slowly, and inside are small treasures, a pressed flower between paper, a polished stone, a string of wooden beads, and folded beneath it all, a piece of paper thin and creased, but clearly saved with care. It's her first letter, the one she wrote on the day after he left. Emma blinks, her eyes stinging, and presses her fingers to the paper like it might carry the warmth of all the days between now and then. I've kept everyone, he says gently. They reminded me where I was headed. She can't find words to answer, so she just hugs him, the letters between them, their arms wrapped around more than just a moment. That night, for the first time in what feels like years, Emma doesn't lie awake listening to the wind, or the rain, or the creaks of the house. She doesn't watch the stars for messages, or write in her notebook by candlelight. Instead, she falls asleep quickly, deeply, with her father's voice still echoing faintly in her mind. She dreams not of distance, but of home, of laughter on the porch, of the smell of bread rising, of the sound of a saw in the barn, of the swing creaking softly under the weight of someone she loves. The days that follow are slow and sacred, not because nothing ever goes wrong. Storms still roll in, fences still break, animals still get loose, but because the waiting is over, the ache has passed, and in its place is a life threaded with meaning in every corner. Emma still writes in her notebook, but now the entries are less about missing and more about noticing. The way Papa's laughter returns more each day, the way Mama walks lighter, the way the wind now feels like a song, not a silence. One afternoon, Emma walks to the mailbox out of habit. It's empty, of course, but she places something inside anyway, a note she's written, not for Papa, but for herself. It says, "You waited, and you loved, and he came home. Keep this as proof that good things grow slowly." She doesn't seal the envelope, just folds it and lets it rest there, like a prayer on paper, like a whisper set into the air to keep her anchored. That evening, she sits on the porch, again, same swing, same quilt, same soft rhythm of the chimes and the breeze. But this time, she doesn't look at the roses. She doesn't wonder what might come. She looks at the sky, at the light flickering through the leaves, at the man she missed beside her, and she smiles, because the story finally has reached its quiet peace. Not a grand ending, not a sudden joy, just this, a father's steady breath beside her, a mother's song in the kitchen, the stillness of knowing you are, at last, whole. And in the soft dark of the evening, as stars rise again over the field, Emma thinks only this: we are still here, and we are enough.